Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Dave, and welcome to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old. Don't nod when I say another properly.
Yeah.
That throws me off. Like, both new and old with a strictly positive critical eye.
Nailed it. That's right. And so to avoid lazy negativity, we've decided to make this episode a drinking game. So whenever we say anything negative at all about each other, about the movie, about Bob Balaban's beard, you're going to hear this sound. That sound means we're taking a drink, and we hope you drink along with us.
So, pour yourself a glasses. I, for one, personally welcome our alien overlords.
Cheers, Dave. That's right.
We've had a good run.
Welcome to, hey, if we don't destroy our planet, maybe they'll save our planet, you know?
Maybe. That's the hope is. You just described the plot of Three Body Problem.
Well, yeah, if people left Mars to come here, we didn't learn our lessons. They should have planted that seed a little bit. Like, please don't forget.
Yeah, it's like the British sending like convicts to a place with perfect weather and great beaches. It's like, yeah, you really fucking showed us, didn't you?
That's an Australian joke, Dave. Get tickets. Fucking Queen and Country. Okay, people, we are back. It's a two-person show again. John is not here again this week. Next week, we'll probably have a guest on or two to get back to a 3 or 4 person show. We got some people interested in those guest spots, so keep posted if you're listening to us in real time. Thank you for subscriptions. Dave, thank you for editing and producing all these episodes as always. Thank you for using your skills for free for our show. We do have a couple sponsors that you'll shout out, but in a second. But of course, just the hype. People, we're talking about Close Encounters, the random year generator spun 1977. And David,
there's no way in hell where we're doing Star Wars.
Yeah, we're definitely not doing Annie Hall. That's for sure.
Wow, that buzz was on point. It's like AI was searching for any mention.
It was a weird year. It was like out of all the movies to pick from, it's like Saturday Night Fever, Smokey and the Bandit was close, but it was like these huge movies that everybody has known and talked about forever, books, lore, merchandise, like nothing that we can add to the conversation. And then a lot of crap of movies that maybe time forgot for a reason. And so it's like we could not figure it out, but we had to go for it. We've done a lot of Spielbergs, and I'm really happy we found this one, which may or may not be in my top 5, Dave. I'm going to find out if it's in your top 5 or even top 10. It is Close Encounters, Spielberg's follow-up to Jaws from 1975.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
That's right. We'll also give you some
very
context.
Specific.
We're going to talk about the film year 1977, what happened, what won some awards, box office, world events, before getting into that segment. Check the show notes if you just want to get to our featured conversation. We got some gripes, because this is drinking for real, and it is day drinking. If you take a look on our YouTube.
When John's away, we day drink.
When John's away, we day drink. That's right. You can see light outside, but the drinks are still real, people. So we're going to go through some gripes to get us drinking. Again, check the show notes if you want to skip ahead to the featured conversation. Dave, would you like to shout our sponsors out as we get the show on the road?
Well, I know Carlos Barroso.
That's right.
Yeah, I know that guy. He gives us beer.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about our musician in residence, or
who's that guy? I never met him. Yeah.
Actually, that's no wait. You haven't met him. That's right.
I met him on the show.
Well, yeah. I guess listeners, would you count that? Dasein provides all of our music for free. Check him out, SoundCloud.
Yeah, it's for free except for the occasional copyright glitch on YouTube, which we haven't had in a long time.
We pay for it, not financially, but emotionally, spiritually, for sure. Check the show notes. Thank you, Dasein, for all of your music. Ed, please listen to him on Spotify. His Nessian series does really well on ambient playlists, but it's brilliant listening music as well. Anyway, all right. We're going to get to Close Encounters, Dave. We're going to get to 1977. You have 2 gripes. I have 1. So
it's
should
been
we
a bit
do
of
a little? Yeah? Would you like to go first and third then?
Okay, sure. I'll go first and third.
All right.
Okay,
Grape
so I've
timer,
got 60
1 minute.
seconds, no buzzer. I can get anything I want off my chest.
Anything at all.
Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
This one's fairly specific.
Okay.
Dance teachers.
Mm-hmm.
We know you're enthusiastic, and we know you have to be really enthusiastic with your kids, and like you want to inspire them and that sort of thing. Please, 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 every dance teacher, stop standing right next to the stage manager and clapping at 150 fucking decibels right in their headphone because there's a sound guy sitting at the other end of the fucking theater who's only getting the high frequency of that right in his ear, and you clap way too long because you're over enthusiastic, and I get it, you're over enthusiastic, you want them to know that they're doing great and inspire them, but it's gone right in my fucking ear and I'm trying to mix sound for a show.
Oh my God.
So
Dave.
just step away from the stage manager. Go upstage. Go upstage and clap and woo and all the shit you do, which is great. I'm not saying don't do it. Just get the fuck away from the stage manager.
Oh, you got it in time, Dave, but I'm going to put that all into one giant buzz for you there. One group buzz for the whole thing here.
A lot of hate there. I love dance teachers.
I didn't know.
Wrong.
Well, they inspire a lot of people. I didn't know where you were headed with that. I didn't realize it was going to be coming from the point of view of the stage manager / sound engineer of the show, the person running sound. You obviously
and you clap your fucking hands right in the microphone. What are you doing?
Right at it. Yeah, pop that microphone. That's what you get, dance teachers, when you're clapping for your kids around. The stage manager. So funny. I want to ask specifics, but you probably shouldn't tell us any about what event this was. But people, I mean, at shows, I mean, you're right. Directors, choreographers, they, especially if they're teching or something. I don't know. Was it a performance or is this in rehearsal?
It was during tech and in a performance.
Take over. You take over. You walk around. Do they have a God mic?
No, but this also happened during the performance as well.
Got to sit there and take it like the rest of us, people.
Yeah.
All right. I'll do a gripe. You'll get another gripe going, and then we'll talk about movies. All right. You know how when someone tells you you should do something, even if it's a good suggestion, your initial reaction is fuck off?
No, I don't know.
We have to stop with therapy commercials. They're incessant. The digital media ones are trying so hard to be personal that they're invasive. And now there's a Planet Fitness commercial that's caught on, and they're saying the best therapy is only $10 a month, and it's called a Planet Fitness membership, which is basically fucked up. I mean, I don't want to be like a Gen Zer, scoffing at it or canceling everything all the time, but exercise has a ton of benefits. Planet Fitness is cheap, but it's not therapy, but also calling out those therapy commercials and telling them to fuck off. So I'm sort of torn about this one a little bit. So I hate when therapists say stuff in the ads like, I'm a therapist who goes to therapy. I know that's so crazy, right? People are always asking me, why do you go to therapy? You're a therapist. No, they don't ask you that. That's a lie. They know that you're a therapist. You understand the benefits of therapy, which is why you go to therapy. Nobody's telling you, God, that's crazy that a therapist goes to therapy. I hope my therapist is in therapy, because if they're listening to people's shit all the time, Planet Fitness isn't going to cover that. They need to talk to somebody.
The Planet Fitness ad.
Yeah.
Hey, fatty, do you have a problem leaving the house? Come down to Planet Fitness with perfectly fit people.
I wish our buzzer had the lunk alarm. That's for my Planet Fitness friends out there.
Well, that was a delayed one, but I deserved it.
Mm-hmm. All right, Dave. But really, do you get those? The BetterHelp and the therapy ads. It's gotten much.
I paid mostly to get rid of ads, so I didn't get a lot of those.
I tried too, but
it was so funny. I survived a great many years of my life without all this bullshit because you're not allowed to advertise like for that sort of shit on TV in Australia.
Yeah.
Well, certainly not medications that have 60 fucking side symptoms, and one of the possible effects is death. It's like that's a pretty fucking strong effect.
I have another gripe that I was gonna save it. Okay, can you set it again. Set the timer again. Set the timer again.
You will just do two. You do two.
Really quick. This will be a quick one.
My last one's not very good.
I think if we want society to operate right, and we live in New York City, I think once a year, everybody needs to go through a how to be a person in society training one day. So if you don't know that a medication might cause death, if you need to know, like rheumatoid arthritis, like has these side effects, and you need them to say that on the TV, and that's the reason that we have to listen to this shit, that's your fault, not ours anymore. I shouldn't have to suffer because you suck at this. If you throw chicken bones on the street when there's a garbage can on literally every corner in New York City, jail. I'm all about defund the police and stuff, or not really actually, but I'm not saying like cops for everything, but if you throw chicken wings on the street, maybe you should spend a couple hours in jail. Like it's fucked up. It's so stupid. Just because it's so stupid. If you're gonna go through a turnstile and just stand there in the middle of the road, if you're gonna stop in the middle of the sidewalk in Times Square, you have to go through training. We need to make our society operate better, and everybody will be happy. Happiness matters.
I'm going to jump on the back of that because that's exactly what my fucking gripe was about. Because yesterday when I was leaving work, I get on the train and I stop and I'll like, there's someone there, so I let her on the train before me.
I'm sorry, you're gripe timer. Don't think you're getting away with this gripe without it being timed.
She walked through the door in front of me, like looked at me in the face as if to acknowledge, yes, you've let me on the train first, great, and then stopped dead inside the door. And I'm like, I'm still standing here. I'm trying to get on the fucking train.
Yeah.
Get the fuck on the train and get out of the way. It's like nobody knows how to get out of the way anymore. It's like, I'm on the train, fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was my exact, I have the exact same problem. And that is happening more and more since people have started coming out. And it's not even to do with tourists and shit. It's people who live here who should fucking know better.
I ride city bike and there are bike lanes.
Well, you take your life in your fucking hands if you ride a city bike in New York City.
I wear a helmet and I look. So when I ride the bike, I literally look in all four directions of the intersection every single time I come across the one because I don't trust anybody. But what's weird to me is when people just walk in the bike lane without looking one or two directions, which is very easy to do. They'll just walk right in front. Well, that's a death trap. That's basically
really
a full-on road.
You're going to die.
There's motorbikes with delivery people in them,
it's
too.
It's weird to me when motherfuckers on bikes just sail through the red light. I'm like...
Oh, yeah. We break a lot of laws. I have another breaking traffic laws thing. That's for another time.
Yeah.
I know what the laws are, so I know how to break them. But, yes, I run a lot of red lights.
Okay, I'm not sure that's a qualifying statement.
Good point. All right. Anything else, Dave, before we get into the show?
Nope. We covered everything.
You got your day drinking going?
Yeah. Dance teachers took a serve, and so did the people of New York.
Yeah, that's right.
And we good. I'm loaded.
Cheers! Dave, are you ready to talk about the film year 1977?
Oh, let's do it.
All right, featured segment, people. Let's go. Context of what was going on the year that Close Encounters came out. Close Encounters came out in November, so it actually came out towards the end of the year. Dave, I have a feeling, just like a total guess, that you know what the highest grossing film of 1977 is, which is how we always start these segments. What was the highest grossing film that came out in 1977?
Like a theory it was Star Wars.
Ding, 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 ding. Dave, nailed it.
That is the first one in the history of this show I've got right. Because I don't prep for this.
I think a lot of people probably took a wild guess at this. Now, even though this is the first year that Box Office Mojo pretends to have confidence in their receipts, they kind of only have confidence in the domestic receipts. So Star Wars, of course, is number one domestically and internationally, but the numbers and some other sites have decided that Star Wars made about $700 million. If
you're insinuating there's countries other than America, you're about to get blow darted through that window.
They hear your accent. I hope some people at least understand every time that we speak. There are other countries, but as far as, I guess they don't trust their receipts. So Star Wars, it says $221 million domestically, which is a lot of money in 1977. I feel
like that's counting the special editions and shit.
I don't know.
And rescreenings.
Apparently, somewhere between $600 and $700 million is what these sites claim the initial run of Star Wars internationally was. And by initial run, I mean it was probably like a 2-year run, 3-year run.
I think it was in theaters for like 7 months.
It's not like now, So anyway, so that's what they say.
Yeah, they're not jumping to streaming in 3 weeks.
Yeah. Domestically, our film, Close Encounters, was number 3 behind Smokey and the Bandit. But Smokey and the Bandit apparently didn't do very well internationally, again, according to the numbers and some other sites. So
it was a smash hit in Australia.
In 1977? Okay, you can't trust anybody.
I mean, it was a smash hit in Australia at around probably a couple of years later when we got it, because it used to take about a year for the film to get across.
So that's all part of this. Yeah. In fact, on Box Office Mojo, it said that Smokey and the Bandit made $88 in New Zealand. 88. Was that one screening once? Like, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, that was all the people in New Zealand at the time.
I love the Australia-New Zealand thing.
Yeah, no, they're all in Australia getting the doll.
I want to see you guys play rugby against each other and sing to each other, whatever the hell it is you do before.
Have you never seen Australians and the All Blacks?
I have.
Like, there's ambulances parked outside the fucking stadium.
A lot, because it's also for the fans, too.
Those All Blacks are big.
Yes. And actually, that is the most intimidating singing I've ever seen. Even more intimidating than whatever the fuck kind of singing was going on in King Kong there at the end. Not King Kong. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Fuck. Okay.
I don't want to say alcohol affects people's brains, but you got a lot of shit wrong lately.
Whoops. I corrected it this time. Anyway, so Close Encounters made somewhere between $300 and $340 million internationally, which would be, by most metrics, the number 2 highest grossing film of the year. using the numbers, Saturday Night Fever would come in at about 282. Again, how long was that initial release? I don't really know. But The Spy Who Loved Me is up there as well, a Bond film, of course. And then Smokey and the Bandit. That's your top 5, with The Goodbye Girl sneaking its way in some metrics. What I think is important, I'll point out about this top 5 here, is Star Wars budget was $11 million, which was $3 million over budget. Oh my God. Smokey and the Bandit's budget was $4.3 million. Close Encounters was 19.
Twice.
The highest.
No, it did. It fucking blew down. A desert storm took it out.
That's right. I do
Not the
remember
war.
this.
Not
the in Tunisia, right? Anyway, on Saturday Night Fever's budget was $3.5 million. And The Goodbye Girl, the budget doesn't exist anywhere, but it was a romantic comedy, the first romantic comedy to ever break $100 million at the box office, The Goodbye Girl. So I imagine its budget was like $3-4 million. Long story short is, this is collectively like $30 million, and those 5 movies combined for $1 billion. So this is at that time where like you could get huge, like these nice, not indie movies, but cheap movies can make huge returns, which is cool. A couple other movies that would come into the top 10. You have The Deep, A Bridge Too Far, Oh God, and yes, Annie Hall would crack its way in there as well. And of course, this is also still, every time I say Annie Hall, you bastard. Also, Jesus fucking Christ. I'm drinking seltzer. Where's my beer? Here it is. Okay. Something really fun, though, about the film year 1977. This was also at the time where the Oscars and award season actually really bumped sales with releases, re-releases. So Rocky, which was a 1976 film, which would surprise everybody for Best Picture over Network and All the President's Men and Taxi Driver from the year before. That telecast was in March of 1977. So Rocky would actually spend 13 weeks at number 1 in 1977, even though it technically came out the year before, which is probably why it had this like coda effect where it won Best Picture, because it was just so popular around the time of that telecast.
Again, that was one of those ones as well that we went and saw it, and then you're like, I have to bring my friends to see this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like,
and it's
people
like you're
went
insane
in
if you had
groups
to
to see that. Yeah.
Well, what did you talk about if you didn't see it? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, right.
You had to go. Airport 77 had 1 week in there, and then Rocky came back, and literally through April, Rocky was the highest grossing film at the box office every single week. Yada, yada, yada. Star Wars would come out Memorial Day weekend, one of the first huge successes at Memorial Day weekend, because everybody thought you had to wait till kids got out of school, as if everybody on the weekend did homework. So it came out May 25th.
Yeah, that wasn't until the 2000s.
Did really well. Yeah, exactly. And Close Encounters and Saturday Night Fever would do the same thing in 1978, by the way, because of the award season buzz. Yada, yada, yada. A couple things. Christopher Reeves was announced as the next Superman at Sardi's in Manhattan.
Yep. Nobody hated him for it.
And nobody, okay.
How times have changed.
Oscars is interesting. Star Wars would end up going on to win 7 awards, including effects, editing, sound, and score for John Williams, who also, of course, scored Close Encounters. So obviously he wasn't going to win for both, but he won for Star Wars naturally. But Annie Hall,
they just need a best on field award or something. It's like
that now we'll never name movie won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Writing, and Best Actress Diane Keaton. So it won a lot of the big ones. So
which one was it?
Schmanny Schmall. Actor Richard Dreyfuss would actually win an Oscar this year, not for Close Encounters. Of course, he would win for The Goodbye Girl, and he was only 30 years old, the youngest ever at the time. That would, of course, be broken by Adrian Brody. Let's see, Diane Keaton, Vanessa Redgrave won for Julia, as did Jason Robards, and this was his second supporting Oscar in a row, winning for All the President's Men the year before. Close Encounters, it says it won 2 awards, depending on how you look, but actually the Sound Design Award, which didn't exist at the time, it was just Best Sound, which obviously went to Star Wars. Sound Design would end up winning a special Oscar, but the one win was Cinematography, which we'll talk more about the cinematographer of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. A couple other movies that came out this year. Dave, shout out any out if you want. We talked about Eraserhead, and you were like,
no.
We're not doing a Lynch film, especially not without John.
Especially not that one. I've seen that.
The Car, The Rescuers, kind of re-excited everybody for animation. Sorcerer, Namu. Let's see. That's all the ones that I kind of want to say. The Hiding Place.
Yeah.
Etc. Oh, Pumpin' Iron, Dave. There you go. Arnold, after Stay Hungry, decided, they needed a little bit of a documentary about Arnold. Stay Hungry was such a hit. He was winning Mr. Olympia, whatever it was called, Mr. Universe.
Yeah, Stay Hungry was a total hit.
So that's it really well. Mm-hmm.
Total piece of shit.
And then really quick, Dave, a couple things happening around the world. Are you ready? The first ever quadraphonic concert in London was performed by Pink Floyd. Dave, what is that? What is quadraphonic? 4 sounds?
Yeah, 4 speakers.
That's
it's surround before surround.
Oh, Pink Floyd. How about it? The first MRI scanner was tested in Brooklyn. I wonder if it's cost $10,000 then, too.
I just see them not get the measurements right, and everyone's fucking cutlery is flying out the windows across the street.
What do those images look like? I've seen all these movies from this time period, and I don't think those scans look like they do now.
Yeah, dude runs out in the street on fire.
The first Apple II computers would go on sale this year.
Oh, the Apple II.
That's right. The TV miniseries Roots is aired. The first commercial flight of the Concorde. Dave, why does it feel like the Concorde, every year there's like a new fucking Concorde stat whenever we go through the 70s?
Only up to a certain year.
Elvis Presley dies at the age of 42. Roman Polanski is arrested and charged. The New York City blackout.
And then immediately does a fucking runner.
And then he does, yeah. The New York City blackout lasts for 25 hours thanks to 2 lightning strikes. How is it that lightning strikes could just take the whole city grid out for 25 hours? How is that not planned for? I don't know. The Alaskan oil line was completed. Quebec adopts French as the official language. The UK Jubilee. Dave, I'm sure you celebrated in Australia. That's the 25th anniversary of Queen Elizabeth II's coronation.
5. I think we got a special coin. Actually.
I'm sure you did. 2 more for you, Dave. First.
No, I mean, it was like U2's album. They sent it out to you whether you wanted it or not. Jesus.
We buzz shade, Dave. Two more for you, Dave. Navstar Global Positioning Systems. That's right. Global Positioning System, or GPS, is inaugurated by the U.S. Department of Defense. Last one, Dave. You ready? Space Invaders. Wait, sorry. Oh, shit. Atari is released in the U.S., although its success was mediocre from 1977 until 1988, when Space Invaders came out in 1988, surging the popularity of the Atari system.
I remember I ended up with 2 of them because I won a competition because my like grandparents and my aunt and everyone bought me an Atari.
Interesting.
And I'd sit there and play it all the time because I love gaming. And we didn't know this at the time, we do now. And I played Centipede. And then we walked into Kmart one day because I have Kmart in Australia. And I walked into Kmart and they had a special thing. If you can beat the employee, the guy who stands there all day playing like the Atari, if you can beat him, you get an Atari 2600 for $20.
What?
Yeah.
I charged you 20.
Kicked his ass.
So you got an Atari for $20?
Yeah.
Dave.
I think it was $20. It was definitely cheap. It was, yeah.
Was that the current or the then equivalent to people when they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they're like, I'm going to be a fucking gamer or an influencer.
No, that wasn't
and it's
even
that Atari person that just plays Atari for a living. That's the equivalent, right? The person that just plays Atari for a living. It's like, I want that job. It's like, this is not going to be around anymore.
He was still a salesperson. He wasn't
sure.
like, yeah, he still had to deal with public and not just sit there and play Centipede all day.
Always have your fallback career ready to go, people.
Yeah.
That's the moral of the story.
Yeah, if you could always, like, instead of Centipede, you can master E.T. the Extraterrestrial or something.
Was that out in 1977, 1980?
That is one of the worst games ever released on the Atari. It made the documentary. There's like, I can't remember how many million of them went into fucking landfill.
Which documentary?
There's one on gaming and the history of gaming. And they basically talk about all the gaming systems, and then E.T. gets a special mention because it was rushed and interfered with, and they released it trying to coincide with the movie, and it was so fucking bad.
Was that the series that's it was like a Netflix? It was a Netflix series, and it was like it was an episodic docuseries. Yeah, that's okay. All right. What do you say we talk about this movie, Dave?
Yeah, let's do it.
I love it. Okay, we're gonna go back to starting with how we felt in this rewatch of the film. I imagine you've seen Close Encounters before.
Not for a very, very long time. I'm talking like 25 years. I saw it when I was way young.
Yeah.
And the first time I saw it, I fucking hated it.
Interesting.
Because I was a kid and I'd seen Star Wars. and this dealt with aliens and spaceships, and I'm like, all right, where's fucking Darth Vader? Where are the lightsabers? Where's the gun battles? No, there's none of that. There's a whole heap of like themes that you need to be a bit older to understand.
Yeah, I would say so. Although
Like
so smart.
I found myself laughing out loud at places I didn't even think to laugh, or like there was no laughs when I was a kid at this. I was just
Right.
like,
I mean, this time
where the
watching,
fuck are
you
the
laughed.
spaceships?
This time
Yeah.
watching, you laughed.
This time watching, I
would
laughed
too.
out loud.
Okay, cool. So did you watch this on Pluto TV or did you rent it or do something else?
I rented it.
Okay, there is a director's cut, and I'm actually really mad because I was trying to rent the director's cut, and I swear on Prime it said director's cut, and then I clicked on it, and it said theatrical edition.
I got the director's cut on Apple. Apple gives you the director's cut. If you buy it on Apple, you get all three. All three cuts are included.
Do you know what the differences are?
No, well, I know the director's cut is 20 minutes longer.
Okay. God damn it! I feel like I've seen it. I just don't remember because I had the DVD. But okay, we'll talk about it. So you watched the director's cut. You haven't seen it in 25 years. What'd you think? Let me do the setup. So the setup of this film, as seen on IMDb, the little blurb, which is how we set all these movies up, is Roy Neary, of course played by Richard Dreyfuss, an Indiana electric lineman, finds his quiet and ordinary daily life turned upside down after a close encounter with a UFO, spurring him to an obsessed cross-country quest for answers as a momentous event approaches. Dave, in your rewatch, what did you think? What did you feel?
It was so funny because I don't remember anything about this movie but the end. Like when the spaceships turn up.
One of my
Spoiler alert,
one of my things I was going to ask is, what are the parts of the movie that you totally forgot?
I remember the piece on the road where they fly over the top.
Okay.
And the end where they're on the mountain. And I'm like, none of the rest, all the rest of it was just gone from my memory.
Wow.
And so with the way this started, like it starts in the fucking desert in Mexico, right? Mexico desert?
Yep.
Yeah. I was like, what the fuck? Did I put the wrong movie on? And then it's like once they brought up Flight 19, they bring up Flight 19, which of course went missing in 1945.
Based on a real disappearance.
Very famously, yes. They bring that up because the planes have suddenly turned up out of nowhere. And they take their time getting to it, but then they drop Flight 19, and I'm like, oh, there's my hook. That's what I've been looking for. That's my hook right there. And I will say, this movie, because there's a whole heap of like drama and stuff that happens. You know when TV shows, the best example I can think of is there's an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer where it's called The Zeppo, and basically it follows Xander, who's one of the companion characters, on his own little adventure, but there's this whole huge thing going on around him that he's just not a part of. Everyone keeps trying to like put him into safety, and he ends up getting in all this danger by himself. So he has his own thing, but there's this huge world-ending fucking drama happening around him that he's just not a part of. This reminded me of this in that it's almost like there's an X-Files episode happening around the edge of the story.
Sure.
And they're partially involved, and they just keep bouncing through it. So there's all this shit that's happening that you just don't see that's going on around them, but it deals with the human level of the repercussions of this guy from seeing a UFO and saying, "Hey, I've seen a UFO." And nice. I dug it this time because of that. Like I was able to put it in that context, and I have a lot more life experience, and yeah, I got some of the grown-up jokes a lot more.
Well, yes. I hope you got them more now as an adult than as a kid, for sure. Nice. I'll talk more about my history with the movie because it's one of my dad's favorite movies. Mm-hmm. And actually, I was just talking to my dad yesterday because this is one of the first ever DVDs that we got. He actually thought it was the first DVD that we bought. I sort of reminded him that when we got the first big screen TV, which was still square, it was those huge blocks that it had a base to it. You couldn't hang it. It was so heavy, those big ones.
You had to hire 6 guys to bring it in your fucking house.
Yeah. And we got surround sound with the speakers that were so big and heavy in the back that we couldn't mount them. So we just like sat them in the corners of our room on a desk and our wet bar. And we got them, and the guy was like, wait, you got to get a DVD that's compatible with the HD or whatever. And so we were like, let's just get the TV and the surround sound. And he was like, please take this. And he gave us The Matrix for free. But when we realized we needed more DVDs, I watched The Matrix, just those battle sequences like every single day. We bought a bulk, which came with movies that included Stepmom, Stargate, Where the Heart Is. These are deep cuts. Stargate is great. I love and that was one of my favorites because we had it on DVD in this format. But Close Encounters was the reason that we got this particular pack. And it's one of my dad's favorite movies. And he actually watched it recently because they got a new TV and my mom was in Connecticut. And so he was like, I'm putting this movie on. So we love this movie. Anyway, I rewatched it this time. There were parts that I don't know why I keep forgetting these little parts. I forgot about the air traffic control sequence. That was actually the second sequence. I kept thinking that the sighting with the boy was like the beginning of the movie, kind of like E.T. where it opens in the cornfield. Yep. No, it's not. It's what you described already, Dave. And then this air traffic control before we actually go to Indiana. I was like, fuck, I totally forgot about that.
What a clever way to get around the fact that you don't have the special effects to accomplish that shot too.
Which one?
The traffic controller shot, like that whole thing, it just sits there and cuts back and forwards between a radar and those guys.
And don't show the shark.
Yeah.
Just the image of what those little UFOs look like on the air traffic controller screen. They look like little Space Invader things.
Yeah.
It's really funny. That was enough. And then hearing them talk, it's like, what is this? And then the directional patterns of it. And then at the end, like, do you want to report this as a UFO? And like that silence. I mean,
it's like, do you want to end your career? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
That's the question they were asking.
In rewatching this, I think it solidified the reason that I like this movie. It's probably, it might be in my top 3. It might be my favorite Spielberg. It's just that pull, that through line of Richard Dreyfuss's character. You could tell that the director and Richard Dreyfuss are the same. Not that you need to always know who the director is and what they're doing. It's hard to forget that it's a Spielberg film, but it's so clear. And even though it's emotionally complex, the through line is very, very simple. It's very straightforward. I felt like I was on the exact same journey with him the whole way. Not every movie has to be that first person, but I was. Even when they're cutting away to show a million aliens and government officials and musicians and dead sheep and birds and crazy townspeople and other people that have witnessed the phenomenon and the boy and the air traffic control, I always felt, whenever they would show...
dead, by the way.
Yeah. I always felt when I looked at Richard Dreyfuss's face, I was like, we are on the same page. I don't know why. I just thought it was great. And it's not even so much like, I want aliens to be real. But in this world, in this time, I am all in on that journey. And it really is just like Jaws, where it's like, there isn't that much on-screen action. There aren't really that many effects, or there are in Close Encounters, but most of them are later, or they're sort of hidden early on that you don't really notice them. It's just that through line. I'm so hooked. It's symbiotic.
Also, one of the fun parts about watching this is you see so many scenes from other movies. Like the screws undoing themselves from the bottom in the grate, the clouds rolling in when the ship's coming, like Independence Day, all this, like everyone references this movie. This is it's almost like everything comes back. This is like Patient Zero and the whole sci-fi virus expanded from this movie.
This keeps happening, Dave. Which is funny because it was obviously inspired by 2001. It was also, Steve has said, and he's even said later on, this was his most personal film to date. Even with E.T., obviously E.T. was personal too, but like he didn't even realize until this interview in Inside the Actors Studio when James Lipton was like, so your mom was a musician and your dad was a computer scientist. And in this movie, you have aliens and government and engineers communicating via music and electronics. And Steven Spielberg goes, I didn't even realize until right now that was my mom and my dad. I didn't even realize that. The train set with the train accident where the dad is the one playing with the trains and the kids can't, as we know from The Fabelmans, that's Steve. He made a movie when he was 18 years old. That was 2 hours and 20 minutes about a UFO taking over a town. Like, this is so clearly a personal film to him. And he is Richard Dreyfuss, finding, like, as his family dissolves, that's where he goes harder at his art, at what he sees, his creativity. He needs it to come to life. Like, it is so personal that it's riveting. It's fucking riveting. But yes, as far as it being, the inspiration for so many other things, it's crazy that 2001, and I would say in those early, the Mexico City, for instance, it's very David Lean. He loved Kurosawa with wind and stuff, but it's obviously deserty. It's obviously Lean.
Well, I think the wind was one to hide the location behind it, but so they couldn't tell exactly where they filmed it. But the other thing was so they could pull off that fucking shot where the car comes directly into the frame
Oh, yeah.
from within the dust. I love that shit, man. I like when they used it in The Strangers, and I've seen it in so many other things where some like Barbarian and stuff, where something appears mid-frame that wasn't previously visible.
Yeah.
It's just fucking clever filmmaking to me.
Yeah, totally.
Like using your environment to obscure your subject and then having it reveal without moving the camera.
And do you know much about this cinematographer? Apparently he's a legend, and this was his only Oscar, but he worked with, I just looked him up because because he didn't do Jaws, and he didn't really work with Spielberg again. So I was like, who is he? Why does Steve always like working with like European and Eastern European DPs? He worked with De Palma on a bunch of films. He worked with Spielberg on a couple. He worked with Altman. He worked with Cimino. He did The Deer Hunter. And he did Heaven's Gate, which also, is largely outside. The Black Dahlia, he did Blowout. He worked with all of these legends, but apparently he's famous for exactly what you're talking about. And I don't understand this at all the way that you would do, but it's basically obscuring, using light on the film itself to give it this sort of matte effect, but always making sure that the focus stays on the primary subject. So that way it doesn't muddle the frame. It's actually the opposite. It actually helps pull the focus into its central point. Again, I don't understand any of that, but you can see that in this movie, how brilliant it is. Every time you see Dreyfuss's eyes, I mean, come on, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Michael Kahn was the editor, but this guy's Vilmos Zsigmond.
Dude, the Europeans just love playing with light. It's like something is set loose in them, and they'll play with light like crazy, whether it be the absence of or an abundance of.
So much light. Back to what I do remember from this film, Dave, is that first of all, the boy. So it's smart. Have that boy early on be like, wow, I want to go out there and play, and have the mom be going apeshit while that's happening. It's like,
I just want to say as well, that first scene with him when he walks down the stairs and the fridge is open.
Yeah.
Were we witnessing the birth of E.T. in Spielberg's brain right there?
It's hard. How can you not see E.T. all over this?
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
But like that one scene in particular with the kid finding the fridge empty, and then it leads to the doorway, and I'm like, that's like the first fucking formations of E.T. happening right there on screen.
And then going outside through the little dog slot.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, with the second time this happens, when he actually gets taken away, tell me that didn't look like he was going to like Sweeney Todd's oven. Like, the light was so red on the other side of that fucking slot, and the mom couldn't do anything about it. But no, wait, fuck, what was I saying? The scene with Richard Dreyfuss in the car with where you see the UFO behind him while he's reading the directions, and then it's above him. That is one where I was like, holy shit! I was hooked when I was younger watching it. That right there.
Yeah, that as well. The technology to accomplish that, like in that day and age, they literally had to mount the car on a fucking pivot and turn the car upside down to make him weightless.
The actor was thrilled. He's like, so all this shit is going to be flying in my face?
Yeah, right? Like, but for real, in your face. Yeah. Well, yeah, it was the same with the... did you read the trivia on the other shot with the actual abduction of the kid, where everything's flying around? They didn't rehearse that. So, like, her reactions in that scene are real.
What?
She's literally got shit flying at her that she, like, is trying to dodge.
No, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I think, because I know, like, with the kid,
I'll also say, too, like, the sound thing, when that alien fucking comes on, they really fucked with the subs a lot. I had to turn my sub down.
Me too.
I'm not sure whether it was the stuff that my wife put on it as ornaments was rattling, or whether the sub speaker was actually just trying to pop out of its fucking casing. Either way, it was like something couldn't handle it.
Actually, this is really funny because I almost like took a video and sent it to you and said, like, Dave, what's wrong with my sound right now? Like, I thought I've changed my settings, and I knew you would probably, first of all, we were both watching the movie at the same time. And I pictured you saying, like, oh, you have your sports settings on again or something. And I was like, fuck it, I'll just let the fucking buzz go. But yeah, I was like, I have a pretty nice sound woofer, and it could not handle whatever that fucking like Jack Skeleton.
I feel like movies these days don't go down to like fucking 6 hertz.
So good. And apparently the keyboardist was like it wasn't an actor, and Spielberg's like, you in the shot. We'll give you a contract after we get this shot.
Who plays the double Casio?
And how quickly he has to do it. He's literally he's talking to aliens with music. It's fucking awesome. This is so cool.
Yeah.
Were there any other spots that you forgot but remembered as soon as you saw them? So maybe like the memory was so deep and hidden inside of you. Like maybe, do you remember the scene in the house, which I thought was really fun, which is tough because he's going fucking insane as he's literally releasing ducks.
I forgot all of that.
Really?
But that's the bit I laughed out loud at this time.
It was funny. It was really funny.
Well, not only that, the punchline of it. Like, he goes through this whole thing where he's ripping plants out of the ground. And he throws them through the kitchen window to get them inside the house. He throws dirt in through the kitchen window. He throws bricks in through the kitchen window. He steals the neighbor's fucking duck fence, rolls that up and throws through the window because he needs the chicken wire. And like fucking ducks going, chickens going everywhere.
And the mom's trying to.
And then she's like, "I'm taking the kids to my sister's." And he's like, "Are you not dressed? Are you crazy?"
Yeah. He's not dressed you crazy. It's so good.
I was like, that was the perfect line drop on the back of what was 5 minutes of fucking insanity. And also one of his kids is like all in helping him as well, which was great. That's the best,
is when the kid throws the plant through the window.
Yeah, that kid had so much fun on set that day.
She was like this, Daddy? And it's just like this little like unpotted plant. Oh, shit. Unpotted plant just thrown through the window. Also, with the chicken wire, he just like threw it towards the house. Like, he just like moved it closer. I guess, I don't know if it still had to go through the window or not.
It did go through the window in my cut later. I think that cut was extended, actually. That might have been one of the extended bits.
Well, and I knew this was coming, of course, because I remembered. But one thing I forgot was when he says, "Honey, you're going to love it." What are you doing, honey? You're gonna love it. It's like, oh yeah, I think you're on a different page. But the cool thing, what allowed it to be so fun, is that you had already seen the shaving cream thing, which was strange, right? And of course, he has it on all of his hands, so it's gross. But then when he does it with the mashed potatoes, which by the way, that girl, as an unscripted line, she goes, "There's a fly in my mashed potatoes. There's a fly in my potatoes." Apparently, that was unscripted, and the crew had to like stop laughing, and they were worried that they ruined the take because they were laughing because this girl.
And you see his eyes close. He's
yeah,
like,
that's right. Yeah, exactly. But when he gets like emotional, like when that basically self-awareness that he's going crazy, which of course later he seems to forget. He must be so, that turn. There's depth. Long story short, is that.
Well, that's that. As Jim Jeffries once said, that's the thing about going crazy. You don't know you're going crazy.
He's like, "Hey kids, you might be noticing there's something going on with Dad."
Yeah.
I just think
way to broach the subject. I mean, at least he sat down and had to talk about it. And then wigged out completely.
Let's talk about the UFOs and the effects of it, because it's important. I believe they tried some CGI and they were like, "We're not ready for this yet." So isn't all practical. I think they did composites. You would know more than me, but they did like moving effects where they replicated camera
definitely
movements
some composites and stuff in there. But
did the UFOs? Did they look dated and fake, or did you buy it?
They still work. For what this story is, they totally work. And I would say if anyone ever remade this and tried to do it with CGI, it'd suck.
I think you're right.
Because you're like, what is that? Like, you don't like it. There's so much lack of detail because of the flaring and the bloom they used on the like those particular shots.
Yeah.
Like, you can really only see like the main ship when it turns up, and that's basically because he based it on a brewery that he saw, which really speaks to me.
You drunk?
Yeah.
At our beer drinking show.
But I feel like if they like made them actual spaceships, like even if they went back and did a special edition like Lucas did with his shit, like if they tried to change that, I feel like it just wouldn't work. It would make the movie suck. And I respect him for never doing it, because they definitely have the technology to jazz the fuck out of that, but it wouldn't work if you did.
I agree. I wondered a bunch of times the barrel rolling that they did. I know it's like
somewhere John's listening to this right now going, "Yes, yeah, I got him to admit it."
Because like obviously the mothership stays pretty. Let's say it conforms to. Well, I don't know how it stays afloat because there's no like wings or anything, but it at least stays level,
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the spires and antenna on top looking like a cityscape, I don't. It's a really bold choice. I don't exactly know.
No, that was a whole city.
It was
up and down. That was where they lived.
Are they that small? I guess that ship's huge. Yeah, I guess you're right. Anyway, but the smaller ones were doing all these barrel rolls and stuff and like having fun. And I actually thought that was pretty cool, even as it came up the.
I feel like they were the drunk teenagers. It was those little fuckers in there going, "Yes."
Yeah. But I love the idea that it's not clean, it's messy with the aliens are doing. Like the fact that like his truck gets lifted and they're messing, and it's like they move on. They're like, "Yeah, fuck it." I don't know. Yeah. The truck's heavy. It's a small ship or something. I don't know.
Oh, he's not coming out of that thing? All right. We'll go get someone else. Yeah.
Yeah, it was something weird, and then they moved on, which was really cool. The helicopter the next day. But you know what I think another scene that really saves this for me too is because obviously it's not just saying aliens are real and this is possibility, and we spoke to people who had real encounters, which is all true. And apparently he sent the script to NASA because he wanted coordination. He thought like people would like science more if they saw this movie, and NASA said this would be very dangerous, and they sent him a letter saying, this is in the documentary, that he shouldn't make the film because it would be dangerous for the public to see this film. And he said, now I know I'm onto something.
Yeah,
because,
right.
And they claim they were worried that...
What NASA is doing is saying, we don't want another fucking War of the Worlds incident.
Kind of.
Please
well,
stop.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of reasons. They said, in what little statements they made, was like, he made people believe that sharks were going to come out of their toilet bowls and sinks. So
okay, that's fair.
Want them thinking that aliens
Paul Hogan didn't help. He did an actual skit where that happened. It was a piranha out of the toilet.
That wouldn't help.
I shit outside for weeks.
I'll let that one stand because I've seen those spiders. It's the spiders for me. I would put like mesh on my toilets to make sure those things didn't come out.
They live under the seat. There's no mesh. They can get through little spaces.
The scene that really sold it for me, I think, was the class when they had the people who have supposedly witnessed this event talking to the local officials and their cameras. And then, of course, you had the one nut job that was talking about seeing Bigfoot, too, and he made a sound that you'll never forget. And you can see Richard Dreyfuss, his head sinking, being like, well, now I can't just tell people that I saw this because we just are insane now.
Yeah.
And you can't tell if the government person's lying or if he's just trying to make sense out of something that's confusing. I feel like that scene does solidify this into reality in a way that lets the fantasy and let the craziness work. I don't know.
I would like to let's. I'm going to introduce a new segment now. Lines that didn't age well.
What did you write down? I wish we had music for this.
Yeah, right. Nobody will believe a plague in this day and age.
That's good. That's really good.
And then straight on the back of. Plus, there's always some idiot that thinks he's immune. I'm like, they were like, didn't age well, but 100% right.
Sometimes something that's so true to one specific moment in a movie is actually universally true always. I think that's pretty true. Let's see. Oh, I love the kid saying, I went up in the air. I saw our house. Anyway. Are there any spots? Let's see if we can get some gripey here. Are there any spots for you where you were like, I don't know if that wasn't it for me. That didn't work for me. I still keep this really high on my list. Like, I love Friday Night Lights, even though serial killer Landry is a very weird subplot, for instance. And Riggins is not a sophomore in high school in the first year, so why is he in 3 seasons of high school? But I still love the show. There are some things, though. Were there any for you?
There were a couple of scenes that just ran a bit long for me.
I agree. Which ones?
I feel like the air traffic controller could have been a bit shorter, like a little tighter, and probably the going crazy, throwing things through the window. Like, we got the point after the first 3 things. Like, it just went a little long, and it started to get I feel like it might have gone a little long because I started to feel uncomfortable because the crowd outside was gathering, and that might have been why that one ran long. But it was just a little long for me. I got the same. Just gather the crowd as soon as the ruckus starts. Like,
I'm with you.
Yeah.
For me,
other than that, it was great.
I think the air traffic controller one.
Buzz.
Yeah, it's because it was the second scene. If it was the first scene of the movie that length, but because it was the second, knowing Indiana was coming, I see. For me, it was
I did like the fun they had with the French guy though.
Oh yeah,
where he was so used to translating him, he started translating him when he was speaking English.
That's so funny. That's, of course, François Truffaut, who had won an Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film 2 years earlier for his 1975 film that he wrote and directed, Day for Night. No, that was 1973. Shit. But I guess it came out in America in 1975, so it was in that Oscar season. Okay. For me, it was actually the scene where they climbed the mountain. And they had him, for instance, fall while he was going up. And
3 times.
They didn't insinuate to us that he got the sleepy medicine, that the military was dropping on everybody. So it really just seemed like they were making it laborious and like, oh, you're almost there. But it wasn't exactly Sam and Frodo at the end of 3 Lord of the Rings movies. So it was like, I get it. It's laborious and it's a struggle, but like, we're spending a lot of time in this 10 feet of mountain. Yes. We've already spent 10 minutes climbing this mountain.
I feel like it was a tension build that was just executed poorly.
And we've already seen that a couple things maybe dragged on, so we didn't need any more. I don't know if I need any more. So the director's cut, I don't know what it would have given us, but because it's
Also,
pretty simple.
I just want to say, right at the end, when he meets up with the other woman whose kid was abducted, and like his wife has taken the kids and left, do you feel like that kiss was a bit much? Like there was no real reason for it.
I do think that was a little. What do you think? It was just like a shared trauma, like a shared.
I don't know what it was. Maybe it was like we were right all along. It was a little bit of a celebration or something. It just came off a bit weird.
It was weird. You're right. Yeah. So there were a couple little things like that along the way, for sure.
Also, how did the aliens see Jaws? Seriously, they were right in the middle of the song. Dun dun dun. Like it literally, if you have the subtitles on, it literally says aliens play Jaws.
Oh, directors like having their little trademarks. Come on, the Jaws shark is in E.T., Okay. I'm with you on that. I think the only other thing to shout out is that India sequence, the India sequence in North India with all the people. I think maybe they just decided to have fun getting all of these people in shot. They made them run so many times in so many different directions, which is probably rude.
That was a separate production unit too.
Yes, the DP did not fly to Northern India for that. I kind of feel like we're coming to a logical conclusion here. What about the ending? Did you like the ending where it just sort of, he goes and that's it? He doesn't talk to his family again. He's just gone. Did you like that ending?
I kind of did.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I didn't think I would, but I kind of did. I'm not 100% behind family abandonment, but
right.
Yeah, this was he's going to fucking aliens. I mean, I thought it was going to be an exchange program when that the little one came out.
Mm-hmm.
But also, where did those other ones go? Did you see them walk on the ship? I didn't.
The other aliens or the other?
No,
humans?
the other ones. They walked out in the red suits.
Did they not go, right? Because they weren't. No, some were invited in. They went in eventually, right?
I didn't see that.
Well, fuck. Now I'm second guessing it. But I thought they all lined up, and then they picked Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah.
And everybody else who was lined up was like, what the fuck?
They cut to a wide shot, and they're gone.
But I thought at the end you saw people walking in. I thought you saw them go in.
Hmm.
But I don't know. Apparently, the famous line from this is, "We need this means something." But I actually really like Dreyfuss's last line when he's asked by François Truffaut, "Monsieur Neri, what do you want?" And he says, "I just want to know that it's really happening." I feel like that's like a really cool line towards the end of the movie.
Yep.
Ray Bradbury declared this to be the greatest science fiction film ever made, according to him.
Yeah, he's wrong. But
the kid, Cary Guffey, apparently they used his first take so much that they called him One Take Cary, and Spielberg made T-shirts that said One Take Cary on it.
And then he did nothing after the 80s until like 2023.
Yeah. And Kubrick wanted him for The Shining, according to something. That's funny.
He might have rocked it, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
you know what's really funny? How much does that kid look like the kid in Pet Sematary?
They had a look. We know what we wanted. We knew what we wanted back then. The Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, was formed after this movie came out, dedicated to investigating UFO sightings and encounters. I do not believe that was a government agency. I think it's just super fans.
I think you are right. It was not. It was a group of people gathering in some houses with tinfoil hats.
And at Devil's Tower National Park, they screen this movie every single night, making it one of the longest running and most screened movies of all time.
I don't know about you, but I kind of want to go to Devil's Tower now.
I don't know what else there's to do around there, but I've never been to Wyoming, so it'd be pretty fun.
Well, I'm not going to go twice.
Have you
been? Go once. Yeah.
No.
Just go the once. That's fine. It doesn't need to be much to do. I'll go. If there's nothing to do, I'll go home. Or the pub or something.
Fair enough. I hope there's a pub. There's got to be a pub for
it's Wyoming because there's a pub.
Talk about the movie. Yeah?
Well, it's not prohibition.
No, but there's a lot of space. Not a lot of people.
Yeah.
The people to space ratio.
So they need pubs for you to stop at while you're walking.
All right. I think that's enough. Also, supposedly, the last 35 minutes of this film is the hardest that Spielberg ever had to most time he spent on editing. And apparently, he let John Williams' score dictate his editing because he was going so insane with this and said, that's a good feel. I want the movie to feel like that. So he just tried to mimic John Williams' score in his editing. And yeah, the editor of this film would go on to edit everything that Spielberg's done up till now. And his name is Michael Kahn. Won 3 Oscars for Raiders, Schindler's List, and Saving Private Ryan.
Now the phone goes off and he's like, Steve, leave me the fuck alone, please.
Yeah. Right now he's like, I'll only do Steve movies.
Yeah, right?
Nobody else. Leave me alone. All right.
I mean, one Steve movie would probably pay for the rest of the year.
Yes, and he's still making up for 1941, so that's probably why he needs to keep going.
That was so hard to buzz you when I fucking agree.
He didn't do Jaws, so he did this, and he went, yes, we're on to something. And then he did 1941, he said, fuck. And so he's been, trying to turn it around ever since. All right, Dave. What do you say we wrap this up with getting into our teaser for next week, where we are going to spin the wheel to find out what year we're going to choose our next movie from. Do you think we should do that now?
Yeah.
All right, let's let it rip.
Let's find out. It might not even work on yours because I noticed that scoreboard over here is not working.
All right.
But I'll push the button and see what happens.
I see it.
It does work.
Back into the 2000s. 202. It only goes to 2020, right? Oh my God, 2023.
Nope, it doesn't. It goes to whatever year we're currently on.
2023. Dave, we saw so many movies last year.
But not all of it. We didn't talk about a lot of them.
I guess you're right. Well, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Dave, what the hell are we going to choose? All right.
I don't know. We'll figure that out.
We're not going to do this now, so we don't waste your time, people. We're going to get into our final or second to last segment, I suppose. What you been watching? Where we tell you what we've been watching, give you some recommendations. And at the very end of this episode, we'll tell you what we're going to be talking about next week. Dave, you had a busy week. Were you able to watch anything?
Had a busy week. I mean, we rounded out Obliterated, the Netflix series.
Okay.
And that actually they turn on the action and it actually gets better the longer it goes.
Nice.
We're not up to date on Doctor Who yet. But holy shit, the internet's gone nuts about it.
Nice.
Like trying to figure out what the mysteries are they've set up. So pretty much nothing new for me. Like we pretty much just put on stuff that we were comfy with in between the gaps because we both worked like crazy this week. So nothing new for me.
Sweet. I watched a couple things. I actually did a rewatch of Jurassic Park. I didn't mean to watch the whole thing, but I just couldn't stop. I don't know why. Decided to do that. I watched a decent amount of the Spielberg documentary too. I was kind of doing things while I was at it, so it wasn't, maybe not like an official count for me, but I just thought it was great, and I thought I might get some good data out of it. I couldn't stop. But really, the big things were last week. I couldn't even pronounce Baby Reindeer, or I couldn't even recall what it was called. I think I called it like
I said the world has blocked it out.
Yeah. But Angela and I decided to start it, and we couldn't stop. We watched the whole series in 2 days. I think it's 7 or 8 episodes, and it's not what we expected.
Yeah.
But we couldn't stop. It was very compelling. There's some shit now because a lady's trying to sue Netflix for not protecting her identity because she thinks the character is based off of her. I can't get into that, but I do know that I went into the series with that in mind. Regardless, it's just one of those series I couldn't stop watching. It's fascinating. I think it's very well done. Baby Reindeer, Netflix. I saw. Oh, and then Angela, we saw a 2024 movie, a rom-com. Dave. Oh my God, I forget what it's called. Fucking hell!
It took too long. It took too long.
I'm still gonna.
You're gonna exacerbate your memory problem.
If only it were you. If I wish it was you. Oh my God! It's Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell. I'm such an asshole. Anyone but you.
Damn, I haven't even seen the movie.
I know. I actually technically came out in 2023, but. It's one of those movies that has like a 50 Rotten Tomato score, but the audience score is 80 something. So like nobody thinks it's The Shining. I think it's pretty fun. Cool. Are there some dumb things in there? Of course, but some of them are in the trailer. I mean,
I'm always looking for redemption for Madam Web. So
yeah, it's good. It really was entertaining. It was really fun. It was funny. It was well put together. I thought it was really, really good. I really liked it for what it was. I don't mean to belittle it or be patronizing, but it's like it's a rom-com that knows what its target audience is, but it's still pretty smart and it's well done. It's well done.
Cool.
All right.
Did I tell you about Interview with the Vampire when I was watching that?
No.
Yeah, we had a screening at one of the places I was working at. They had a screening of the second season premiere. Because I was watching the first season. So I raced to catch up so that I could work this premiere. And they had the whole cast there. It was great.
No shit.
But they changed the actress of the girl. Like when they, how in Interview with the Vampire, they create the young girl as a vampire. It's a story thread. But the actress couldn't continue after season 1, so they introduced a new actress, and they did the classiest thing I've ever seen in a recasting. It just comes up with text at the beginning. The part of Claudia will be played by, and gave her name. And I was like, given that this moves on to like Theatre de Vampire and stuff like that, what a classy move.
Yeah.
It's like, we recast this role. Here's the new girl. Like, this is her. She'll be playing this part now.
That's pretty cool. I wish they did that with,
it was very theatrical, and I dug it.
I wish they did that with Aunt Viv in Fresh Prince.
Also, she rocked it. The new one rocks it. So yeah,
it's awesome. Nice. Sorry.
They're actually the guy who plays the main Louis in that. Actually, is such a dude. Like they had to drag him off the stage from signing people's stuff. And then we packed down like the venue and walked outside, and there's still this crowd of people outside. He's on the hood of someone's car, still signing things instead of getting in his car. Like, people are trying to like, get in the car so you can leave. He's like, no, I'm still signing.
He's like, I might never have this moment again.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Maybe he just wanted to appreciate the fans. They were all keen. So yeah, he just I was like, yeah, you're good. I'll keep you watching your show.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and put some Dasein on Dave for a couple seconds while we talk it out, figure out what 2023 movie we're going to be covering next week on the show. Stay with us. And we're back.
We're back.
All right, Dave, there's 2023. So many movies. We saw a lot of them. We did mini reviews.
Mini reviews.
So we were kind of trying to find not obscure movies, but those movies that were a little bit maybe not the hugest like commercial like or maybe not the most like awards show movies.
I mean, number 1 on my list was Godzilla -1, but they haven't released it in this country yet.
Oh yeah, it's definitely available in Japan, but not here yet. And I bet they feel pretty good about that. But God, I want to see it so bad. God damn it. Yeah, Godzilla -1 did not get our vote because we can't see it. So we can vote for it. But I think we like our choice. So get your Shudder subscriptions up. It's only $5.99 a month, or you can do your free trial. You can also rent this on Amazon and elsewhere. But Dave, we are doing Baghead.
Baghead.
Are you excited about this?
I'm a little excited about this. It's a good fun premise.
Horror fans, come at us.
Bring it.
Oh, we're gonna get a special guest on here.
Again,
I know for sure.
What we want to do is watch the movie and call the number that's on your screen, 646-484-9298.
We will play that on the air.
Yeah.
We have nothing better to do than to play that on the air.
Yeah,
So
we will.
please.
If nothing else, just call up and tell us what you think of the movie, the show, us, personally.
Baghead.
And I'll call you back because he gives me your number.
You shouldn't tell people that. Or maybe you should. All right, people, thank you so much for listening to our Close Encounters of the Third Kind episode. See you next time, film fans.